Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Raj here, and today we are going to be talking about what happened at WWDC 2021. So, without further ado, let's begin. First up, we have iOS 15. Now, this, guys, was a very small update, but nevertheless, it was still quite a huge advancement for iOS overall. So, let's talk about what happened here. Let's first start off with FaceTime. So, we got a brand new feature, as you can see there in the top right corner, called SharePlay. So, SharePlay essentially allows you to keep FaceTime conversations going as, like, say, you watch TV shows, movies, listen to music, or share your screen basically with SharePlay. So, what that means is that, let's say you want to say share something with your friends or family. Or your coworkers that is on the screen of your iPhone, iPad, or Mac. Well, now you can do that over FaceTime, which is actually quite convenient because before iOS 15, you actually had to screen record something and send it to somebody via text message if you wanted them to see your screen essentially. But now with SharePlay, they can see your screen in real time, which is honestly quite awesome. And it's also an entirely new way to have experiences with family and friends, no matter the distance, as well. So let's say you are separated, especially during the pandemic, from family and friends. You can watch movies and TV shows together over FaceTime and still have a conversation as well, which is very, very convenient. You can also watch, like I said, movies and TV shows together, and there is also a brand new FaceTime interface as well, which is very cool. Not only that, you can also listen to music together. So you can get together and listen to an album with friends. The whole group can see what's next and add songs to a shared queue with synced playback and easy to use controls, which is also quite fantastic. And as far as sharing your screen goes, you can share your screen with anyone in your FaceTime call, browse apartment listings, swipe through a photo album, or plan your next vacation as a group, all while seeing and talking to one another, which is also fairly cool. You can also actually, even with screen sharing as well, you can show somebody how to use the iPhone as well. Say if they're brand new to the experience, you can also show them that as well. With the iPhone, iPad, or the Mac. So it can be any of those devices. And this is another huge update to FaceTime as well. We also get something called spatial audio. So essentially, what it will do is so individual voices sound like they're coming from any direction in which each person is positioned on your screen. So that helps the conversation flow more naturally. So essentially, it's like being able to talk in person, where you hear somebody's voice coming from a specific direction. So, with FaceTime, now you have the ability to listen to a person's voice, say if you're in a group FaceTime, from a specific area, which is pretty cool actually. You also get a new grid view as well in FaceTime. So now there's much larger tiles, so now you can see everybody instead of it having it in that stacked view as we're used to. You also have portrait mode as well on FaceTime, so it works just like portrait mode does with your camera, except this is portrait video. So this is, in the moment, live, basically, which is really cool. So it blurs the background, essentially, behind you. You also have several mic modes. So you have voice isolation, which minimizes the background noise and puts your voice front and center. When the music or sounds around you are as important as what you have to say, wide spectrum leaves the ambient sound unfiltered. And then just standard, of course, is standard, as we're all used to. You can also now, with FaceTime links, you can schedule and share FaceTime calls with a unique web link. So this is where FaceTime on Android comes in. Now you can invite anyone to FaceTime. So actually this is with Windows and Android. So now you can send friends and family a link to connect on FaceTime even if they're using Windows or Android, and it's still end-to-end encrypted, which is fantastic. So your call is as private and secure as any other FaceTime call. So essentially what that means is that your FaceTime is going to be as secure if, say, you're on an Android or Windows device, as it is, of course, on the iPhone. But it's still preferable that you use Apple devices simply because it's a much easier and smoother experience. By using an Android or Windows device, you're limited to only having a FaceTime call on a browser. And as far as messages and emojis go, now you have a new thing called Shared With You. So now links, images, and other content shared with you in messages are featured in a new Shared With You section in the corresponding app. So you can even reply right from the app you're enjoying it in without going back to messages, which is pretty cool actually. And Shared With You is also in several apps. So Shared With You is built into Photos, Safari, Apple News, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, and the Apple TV app. So, like, let's say you wanted to share a news article with a family member. You can do that, and it will say that a specific person shared it with you in, say, messages, for example, or even in the app itself, which is very cool. Or say you want to share a song with a friend. You can also do that, or even a TV show with a family member. You can also do that from Apple TV Plus or the Apple TV app. And with photos, like let's say you wanted to send a picture to your friend, your grandma, grandpa, whoever it may be, it will say it's from that specific person, which is very cool. And it'll say that in the Photos app, of course. And there's several new Memoji styles. So now you can choose outfits for your Memoji and express yourself with new stickers, represent your look and style with a multicolor headwear, and accessibility customizations now include cochlear implants, oxygen tubes, and soft helmets. So definitely more expressive in a way. You also have what's called photo collections. So beforehand, before you used to send photos, at least on iOS 14, obviously a lot of you are still on iOS 14 and will be for the foreseeable future. But right now, at least, you have to send photos and they will all be in like basically a stream of texts. Well, not anymore. Now, with photo collections, you can have multiple photos and messages now appear as a collage or an elegant stack of images that you can swipe through, which is pretty cool. And you also have basically tap to view as well. So if you tap on all of them, it will appear in a nice list view, kind of like FaceTime actually, with those tiles. So, being in the moment, let's say you want to focus on something. Well, now there's a new focus mode built into iOS, iPadOS, watchOS, tvOS, macOS, you name it. All of Apple's operating systems now have this thing called Focus. So basically, this is an add-on to Do Not Disturb. So now you can set custom focuses, like let's say you're driving and you only want specific calls or notifications coming through. You can set it to that. Or if you don't want any, you can set it to any. Or, well, none actually, sorry. You also have ones, like let's say for fitness, for example. Like let's say you're working out and you don't want work emails coming through or you don't want work text messages coming through. You can filter those out, which is pretty cool. And let's say you're gaming, like say with a friend, and you again don't want work emails or text messages or whatever it may be. You don't want, like say, specific emails or things like that coming through in your notifications. You can enable that mode and it will filter those out. Or let's say if you're reading and you don't want to be disturbed by basically anybody, then you can also toggle on that reading mode and it will essentially filter out all those notifications. And you can also signal your status to people now in messages. So stepping away is easier if others know you're busy, essentially. So when you're using Focus, your status will be automatically displayed in messages, and for truly urgent messages, so for emergencies, there's still a way for people to notify you. So essentially, like let's say you have a Focus mode enabled, and you essentially are like getting texts from someone. Those initial texts will not go through, at least initially, because that person is in focus mode. However, if your message is urgent, like say if it's an emergency, then you can actually, make it go through and the other person will be able to read it because there is those instances where there is definitely going to be emergencies and where you'll need to be able to get to somebody as quick as you can. And now, without further ado, let's move on to notifications. So, notifications have been completely redesigned. So, now the icon for the app is much larger, and off to the left side, of course, and the notification sizes themselves are about half the size of the notification sizes that they were in iOS 14. So there's basically now a new look, so it includes contact photos and larger app icons to make them easier to identify, which is very cool. You also get this new thing with notifications called Notification Summary. So you can quickly catch up with a helpful collection of your notifications delivered daily based on a schedule you set. The summary is intelligently ordered by priority with the most relevant notifications at the top. And you also, with maps, now have a brand new map, which is very, very awesome. So what that essentially does is that now you have essentially 3D objects, so now well, 3D buildings and other places. So like you essentially can now view, like, let's say the Golden Gate Bridge in 3D on the map. You also have the ability to explore cities with unprecedented detail for roads, neighborhoods, trees, buildings, and more. And you can visit amazing 3D landmarks, like I just said, like the Golden Gate Bridge in both the day and dark mode maps, which is very, very cool. You also have new driving features as well. So Maps now offers drivers incredible road details like turn lanes, crosswalks, and bike lanes, street level perspectives as you approach complex interchanges, and a new dedicated driving map that helps you see current incidents and traffic conditions at a glance. So it's definitely much more detailed than the previous map. And like, let's say this is actually useful, say, if you're a tourist and you get lost. Well, now you can have this new feature called immersive walking instructions. So you can get where you're going with a step-by-step directions you can view in augmented reality. So let's say you want to know the name of the street. You can scan the buildings around you and it will tell you, which is very, very cool. You also have new public transit features as well. So public transit integration shows nearby stations and transit times and lets you pin favorite routes to the top, of course. Now, let's move on to Safari. So there's a new tab bar design. So it's basically reimagined for the way we browse today. Because, of course, we use Safari a lot on our Apple devices. At least, most people do, I would hope. But essentially, it is a reimagined way for the way we browse today. So the new tab bar maximizes your screen space and stays out of the way as you scroll and explore. So it essentially is web page first based, which is very, very awesome. It's also easily reachable at the bottom, so you can navigate and jump between tabs with just your thumb. So it is honestly very, very awesome. Just even switching between tabs. It's kind of like going between apps, actually, on the iPhone 10 and above, which is really cool, actually. You also now have this thing called tab groups in Safari, so you can save and organize your tabs in the way that works best for you and switch between them easily. So tab groups sync across your devices, so you have access to your tabs from anywhere, which is very awesome. You also have this brand new feature called voice search. So you can search the web using just your voice. So like, let's say you don't want to type out, say, something very long and just want to use your voice, you can do that now. You also have extensions. So, of course, Safari used to have extensions on just macOS, but now you can have extensions on the iPhone, the iPad, and the Mac. So you can have it all across your devices. So you can now install Safari extensions on your iPhone, and just like on the Mac, you can choose when extensions will be active, which was very cool. This is also another huge update for Wallet. So, ID cards. You can essentially now add your driver's license or state-issued ID to your wallet for use when you travel and in the future at retailers and venues, which is very awesome. And keys for your everyday. So now your iPhone can essentially unlock your home, your garage, and your hotel room, or even your workspace, which is very convenient. So no more keys, or no more physical keys. You also have intelligence designed to be helpful. So there is so much rich information in your photos, from memorable places you visited to handwritten family recipes. In iOS 15, it uses secure on-device intelligence to help you discover more in your photos, so you can quickly find what you're looking for and relive special moments. You also have live text and photos. Now, this is a really huge feature. So essentially what it allows you to do is live text intelligently unlocks a rich and useful information in images, so you can make a call, send an email, or look up directions with just a tap on the highlighted text in a photo. So like, let's say you want to call a phone number. You can essentially highlight it and you can call it. It will directly let you call it. Or like, let's say, in the bottom like left corner there, it shows you that, now you can highlight, say, handwritten notes and have it turn into typed text. Like, let's say you wanted to jot down some notes on a piece of paper. At least that's what you only had available to you, but then you later wanted to upload it to, say, like a document or something like that, or notes. Then you can copy it and then paste it essentially in the app of your choice, which is very cool. So you also have that same functionality for live text in the camera app as well, which is very cool. You also have live text translation. So, like, let's say you wanted to translate something from, like, maybe say Chinese to English, then you can also translate that as well. So, some live languages, or like live text, understands 7 different languages. So, this includes English, Chinese, French, Italian, German, Portuguese, and Spanish, and with system-wide translation, you can simply tap and translate, which is very cool. You also have visual lookup. Now, this is huge. So now you can discover more in photos, learn more about the objects in your photos. Visual lookup highlights objects and scenes. It recognizes, so you can get more information about them. So that is another very cool piece as well to add to iOS. You also have learn more with a tap. So with visual lookup, you can quickly learn more about art, landmarks, nature, books, and pets simply by tapping a photo on your device or on the web. You also have Spotlight, which gets brand new rich results in photo search. So Spotlight shows you more information at a glance with new rich search results for artists, entertainers, TV shows, and movies, as well as your contacts. And you can essentially now search your photos in Spotlight, and even search based on text in your photos by using live text, which essentially what that means is that Spotlight, in layman's terms, it's essentially a lot smarter. And your photos essentially now can have interactive memories, which these essentially are going to be, like with songs that match the tone of your pictures, basically. So it is really intelligent to know, what song to choose. And of course, it's integrated with Apple Music. You also have the Health app, which also gets several updates. So moving on to Health, these are all of the updates here, of course, that you can see on screen. So updates to Health include basically sharing sharing your health with with family. I almost said friends, but I mean, you could if you wanted to, but it's preferable that you share it with just your family. And then you can basically exercise to improve balance. You have now walking steadiness. You receive alerts for loved ones, like say if something is wrong with their health, you can now receive alerts for it. You have blood glucose highlights, fall risk notifications, like let's say if you're at risk of falling. This is especially useful for the elderly, I would say. Store vaccine records in the Health app, you can do that now. You have lab result highlights, you have sleep widgets, essentially on the home screen, lab results, educational content, lab results pinning, and you also have the ability to share data with your doctor, of course. And then this is especially useful for my female viewers out there. Improved cycle tracking predictions with heart rate. You also have what are called trends as well. So just like with the Apple Watch, with those trends, now you have trends in Health as well. And of course, we need to talk about privacy. So, privacy, some features of privacy, of course, now are some actually cool things. Like, for example, the app privacy report. Now, this essentially lets you see how many apps are using the permissions you've granted them, which third party domains they contact, and how recently they made contact. So basically, it works just like Safari did back in iOS 14 when they introduced the website privacy report, where it lists all of the trackers that website is contacting, essentially. So it just gives you a better idea of which data brokers are going to be able to see your data and what you can do to essentially either limit that or essentially let them do that. Now, me personally, I would limit it because I care about, my data and it not being sold to data brokers. And then you also have something called mail privacy protection, which you can catch up on email with more peace of mind. So essentially, what that means is that you now have a random email address. Well, basically, essentially, what it is mail privacy protection. It can hide your IP address, so senders can't link it to you or other online activity to determine your location, and it prevents senders from seeing and if when you've opened their email, so they will not be able to tell. What it also does, additionally, is that, like, let's say you wanted to hide your email, you didn't want those advertisers to have your real email address. You can essentially make a quote unquote fake one that redirects to your real email address. So those are just one time use fake email addresses that redirect you back to your original email address. But the advertisers on the other end never see your real email address. And you also now have Siri, which audio of your Siri requests never leaves your device. So essentially, Siri can now work offline. So if you have no internet connection at all, Siri adds on device speech recognition, so the audio of your request is processed on your iPhone or iPad by default. And on device processing also means Siri can perform any task without an internet connection, which is very awesome. You also have this new feature called iCloud Plus, which essentially, if you have a paid version of iCloud, you will be getting this automatically. iCloud has always kept important information like photos, documents, and notes safe, of course, and up to date and accessible across all your devices. Now, iCloud Plus takes that experience a step further with an all new subscription that will replace today's storage plans. So essentially, you get everything you already love about iCloud, so no price hikes, nothing like that. All prices stay the same. And new features include iCloud Private Relay, which we just talked about, Hide My Email, which again we just talked about, and expanded HomeKit Secure Video Support. So, what that last thing is, HomeKit Secure Video Support. It's expanded upon by essentially now being able to detect, like, say, like you have a front door camera and it's supported by HomeKit. That front door camera can now essentially detect whether there's a package at the door when it arrives, and that kind of thing, basically. Because up until now, it's been able to detect people, pets, and essentially that's it. So now it can also detect packages as well. And basically now, going through Hide My Email, so like I just said, it instantly generates unique random email addresses that forward to your personal inbox, so you don't have to share your email address when filling out, say, a form for the web or signing up for a newsletter. Hide My Email is built into Mail, Safari, and iCloud settings. And there's also so much more, such as accessibility features. You can customize display and text size settings for each app, bold or enlarge text, increase contrast, invert colors, and more for only apps you want. Explore people, objects, text, and tables within images in more detail with voiceover. Navigate receipts and nutritional values in logical order, and move your finger over a photo to discover a person's position relative to other objects in that image. So that is essentially what we have here that's brand new. We also actually have weather as well, which this is all across, like, essentially everybody's devices. But before we talk about that, let's talk about AirPods and the brand new features that AirPods get. So, AirPods, they essentially, now this is all across the operating systems, by the way. This is not just limited to one of them. But across your iPhone, iPad, and Mac, AirPods will now alert you for what's called separation alert. So this actually happens also with not just AirPods, but like let's say you leave, like, say, a secondary device behind, like an iPad, an iPhone, an Apple Watch. Or like if you even obviously of course leave one of your AirPods, whether that's the AirPods 2, AirPods Pro, or AirPods Max behind, it will alert you and let you know there on the top right corner. That's like a little graphic of it. It'll let you know when you have left those behind and where they are. And now, of course, there's Dolby Atmos for Apple Music. This rolls out to everybody, no matter if you're on iOS 15 or iOS 14. You now have Dolby Atmos in Apple Music and lossless audio. You also have a conversation boost. Now, this is brand new with AirPods Pro, as far as I'm aware. It might be with other AirPods as well, but as far as I'm aware, this feature is only available on AirPods Pro. Essentially, what it does is that it takes the microphones of the AirPods and it lets them it lets the wearer hear a person's voice much more clearly. So, like, let's say if somebody needs some sort of hearing aids or something like that, it amplifies a person's voice. So it essentially acts like a hearing aid. You also now, on the very far right there at the top, you have what's called proximity view. This is tied in with the whole separation alert thing. So, like, let's say you've lost your AirPods and you can't find them. Then you can tap on the tab that says directions, and it will let you know essentially where your AirPods are and where you are in relation to them. You also have ambient noise reduction, spatial audio and FaceTime, which we already covered, seamless switching to Apple TV, so now you can, of course, listen to something on your Apple TV and it will seamlessly switch, just like it has been now with iOS 14 between the rest of your devices. You also have background sounds such as balanced noise, bright noise, dark noise, ocean, rain, and stream. So that's basically things that are on accessibility settings for those that are hard of hearing. You also have the Find My Network integration, of course, and you have spatial audio for the Mac and Apple TV. And this is actually a brand new thing as well. You have announced notifications. So before Siri could only announce calls on your AirPods, like who was calling you, now it can announce notifications as well. And what that essentially means is, like, let's say you have a notification coming in from, like, let's say a family member or a friend. Well, of course, you can reply to them, but you could also have it read an email. You can have it also read a shopping list as well, let's say, from Notes, and it will automatically read it to you, which is very cool. Now, let's move on to iPadOS 15. So, with iPadOS 15, you get all those same great features I talked about with iOS, plus you get a new keyboard shortcut menu. You get to build apps in Swift Playgrounds, which is huge. You get a new multitasking menu, so it makes multitasking a little bit friendlier to the eye and also, just in general, a little bit better. You also get this new feature called Quick Note. So with Quick Note, let's say you want to quickly write something down, such as a phone number that you are given to by a colleague at, like, let's say work. Then you get to, essentially, from the corner, you just swipe up with the Apple Pencil, like swipe from the corner, and then you'll have this Quick Note appear, and you can just jot down whatever you want. In that field. And then later in Notes, like after you're done with it, you would hit done, and then you could just swipe it away. And then after that, in Notes, it will appear under a new section called Quick Note. You also now have tags as well in your notes. So now you can organize notes with tags, and it'll essentially, like, let's say you have tags on a note that you have shared with a friend or family member, then you can essentially have it alert them to those kind of things. You also have auto-translate, so basically detecting in speech. So now Translate has come to the iPad finally, and now this goes for all operating systems concerned here, so iOS and iPadOS 15. You can now have it auto-translate as you're conversing with the person, so no more pushing any buttons. Now you can just have it run, and the conversation will be live, which is very cool. You also have the app library now, which is great, so ported straight over from iOS 14. That's now on the iPad and iPadOS 15. And you have widgets on the home screen now. So this is, again, another feature from basically iOS 14. I almost said iPadOS 14. I apologize about that. All right, moving on to macOS Monterey, or Monterey. I still can't get the pronunciation quite right. So correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I apologize if I butchered it. So Safari extensions, of course, are now universal, but what's also nice is that we finally also get Siri shortcuts on the Mac. So now we have it across all of our devices, such as the Apple Watch, the iPad, the iPhone, and the Mac, which is amazing. We also now get this brand new and very exciting feature called Universal Control. So as shows there in the graphic towards the top right, now we essentially have the ability to, say, put our iPad right next to, like, say, a MacBook or an iMac, and you can essentially control so let's say you have your iPad on a Magic Keyboard and you have your MacBook right next to it. You can use your iPad's trackpad to go over to that MacBook screen. So essentially, it will switch between cursors and it will act like a second display, which is really cool. And you can do the same thing with actually even three devices. Like, let's say you have a 24-inch iMac that just released, you have a MacBook in the middle, and then the iPad off to the very right. You can essentially take that iPad's trackpad and drag a file all the way across to the iMac and drop it right there. Or, like, let's say you wanted to use the iMac's mouse. You could take that same file, drag it all the way across, drop it back. And then same thing goes with the trackpad of the MacBook. If, say, you wanted to use that and use the device in the center, you could drag it to either one of those other devices on either side and drop it right there. And vice versa, essentially. You can also create shortcuts on the Mac as well, which is very cool. You also get low power mode, and this is across the devices, by the way. So you get low power mode on your iPhone, iPad, and your Mac. Except for the iMac, of course. That's not going to get low power mode, I'm pretty sure, since it's connected to power all the time. You also get spatial audio for AirPods Pro, of course, which has been a thing now for a little while. You get tab groups in Safari. Again, that's all universal. You get game highlights, which is universal in the app stores. You also get a brand new Safari design, which again is universal, but this is something that is brand new as well. You also get AirPlay to the Mac. So finally, AirPlay is coming to the Mac, which essentially means you can use your Mac as a speaker. So, like, let's say you've always wanted to use, like, say, your MacBook speakers as a speaker, like from your phone. You can now, do that. Or your brand new 24-inch iMac. Like, let's say you want to use that set of speakers to play a song, but you don't have a HomePod. Well, now you can AirPlay that audio to the iMac, which is very cool. And then same thing goes for the MacBook, of course. You also have your Memoji on login as well, which is very cool. I love how they add that detail. You also have Launchpad game folders, which is something that is not really talked about much, but it's very cool, I would say. Alright, moving on to watchOS 8. So now with watchOS 8, you get photos from memories and featured photos, so again, expanding onto the whole photos idea there. And you also get ultra-wideband with car keys as well. So, like, let's say you have a car that supports ultra-wideband unlocking, essentially. Then you can use your Apple Watch or iPhone to unlock your car, which is very cool. You also have the music app, of course, which has a redesign, which is very cool. So the interface now closely matches with everything else. You also have voice feedback and workouts, which is fantastic. You have keys and ID cards and wallet, so again, just like the iPhone. You have find devices, just like the iPhone and all the other devices. You have share photos and music, so that's quite a nice thing you can do now just from the Apple Watch. You also have new ways to compose messages. So now, obviously, of course, we've all been used to on the Apple Watch, like dictating a message, like speaking into the watch for it to do that. Well, now you can use a combination of dictating and drawing, which is very cool. So you can now draw letters and speak into the watch. You can also control the cursor with the digital crown. You also have a backspace button, and you have emojis now you can add as well. So now you can add multiple emojis to a message on the Apple Watch. So it's like you never left your phone, your Mac, or your iPad, which is very cool. You also have transit for family setup. You have all the focus modes, of course, from all the other devices because they all sync. You have the Contacts app as well now. You have the ability to set multiple timers. Calculator gets a slight overhaul. You also have the new Apple Maps on the Apple Watch. You have Assistive Touch now on the Apple Watch, which is great for people that have disabilities and who need those accessibility settings. You have next hour precipitation, so you have, of course, that brand new weather functionality, which I will get to in just a moment. You also have new workout types in the Apple Watch as well. You have hashtag images and text, a mindfulness app. We also get Fitness Plus picture-in-picture as well, which is fantastic. And this goes device-wide, by the way. This is not just limited to the iPhone that you can see there in the bottom left graphic. You also have find items as well on the watch, which is great. You have live headphones and audio exposure. You have the Tips app, and you have respiratory rate during sleeping, as well as finally Fitness Plus workout filters. And always on for more apps, which is very cool. So essentially now, talking about weather for a moment. Weather on all of the devices, of course minus the iPad, that doesn't unfortunately get a weather app, but the weather app is now completely redesigned. So now it has a more card-like based sort of system. If we say head back here to iOS, I can show you guys. Let's see here. So yeah, basically we now have weather maps. So essentially what that allows you to do is see like the temperature, the precipitation, but on the main app itself, it mostly takes the design to the next level with card-like, like a card-like interface. And it essentially gives you a lot more information at this time now. So it gives you things like the visibility, pressure, how it feels outside, the humidity rate, wind speed and direction, rainfall in the last 24 hours, UV index, sunrise. It gives you a temperature map, an air quality summary. It gives you a 10-day forecast, and it also gives you an hourly forecast throughout the day as well. Alright, now we can advance further ahead, of course. Alright, so that is it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like, also comment and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. I hope you all enjoyed. Peace out, everyone.